Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's release is quickly approaching, and there is so much more story than what is in the main campaign of the game. Call of Duty War Crime Simulator, Modern Warfare 2019, is a story-rich game with layers of depth, building a massive narrative leading us into this year's release. It also provides one of the most realistic looks into special operations and terrorism, more so than any game on the market. However, the game still has many dramatized Michael Bay-esque events, and many events copied and pasted out of the real world. Today, I will be detailing the story of Modern Warfare that sets us up for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. If you find yourself returning here regularly, make sure to hit that subscribe button, but anyways, let's dive in. The story's start in Modern Warfare 2019 begins with a cinematic showing Al-Qatala's leaders, the Wolf and the Butcher, discussing their motivations. We then pan out to see the people watching the video are Al-Qatala terrorists in a van, heavily armed and equipped with explosive vests. Al-Qatala is just an analogous term for Al-Qaeda. They then exit the vehicle into the urban center of Piccadilly Circus, located in London. Just before the cinematic end, we see a terrorist raise his hand holding a detonator, and then see a motion indicating he's about to detonate it, before the cinematic cuts to black, which is something we will come back to in a later mission. We then jump to helicopters, fast roping soldiers into a forest near a manufacturing center, near Verdansk, Kastovia. This is an area of the Modern Warfare world we return to in the hit game Call of Duty Warzone. As the soldiers fast rope in, we focus on a specific soldier, codenamed Alex, a CIA operator working with Marines to assault and deactivate the facility. After you work your way into a nearby cliffside, you check to ensure the Russian military does not run the gas production facility. After verification, you violate the Geneva Convention for the first time in the game, and you hit this facility with a considerable amount of white phosphorus. This is only a war crime because the facility is being run by a civilian private military company, and you're not supposed to use white phosphorus against civilians. But they're Russians, so they're not really people. After working down into the facility, you are then ambushed by the remaining PMC soldiers. You clear the ambush and work your way into the storage warehouse, where you are then again ambushed, but quickly clear the facility. After doing so, you learn the soldiers in the warehouse were Spetsnaz, and you try to leave as soon as possible. You check and verify the gas containers are really there. As soon as you exit the facility, you are ambushed by insurgent forces who stop killing you after they realize you are American. Then they jack your shit and leave. The next cinematic jumps to an American base in the desert. This is where we first see Laswell, a CIA spook who ran the mission, being chewed out. She is told to contain the incident. We then jump to a sniper in the jungle who gets sniped himself and reveals Captain Price, who agrees to work with Laswell to contain the issue. Also, quick informational note, Captain Price's call sign Bravo 6 is a direct reference to Captain Harris in the classic war movie Platoon. The next mission begins with you playing as Kyle Gaz Garrick, a British SAS operative following a terrorist group in London. After a van containing the terrorists pass by, you see through the window that they have bomb vests and are fully armed. However, due to Britain's rules of engagement, i.e. politics of war created by people sitting in a cubicle who have never seen combat, much less lifted anything heavier than a coffee cup in their life, say that you cannot contact them until they engage. Then, the terrorist attack begins. Bomb vests detonate, weapons are fired, and you are armed with a pistol and told to stop it, stop it. As you go through the level, tons of innocent civilians are killed, and you clear the buildings one at a time. You continue until you reach the final building, where the door has debris in front of it. After starting to push junk out of the way, you're attacked by a terrorist who gets shot by none other than the bodacious British badass, Captain Price, who then helps you to move the debris. As you make it to the second floor, you see a civilian with a bomb vest locked to his body. With time running short, unable to disarm the bomb, Captain Price saves the civilians by throwing the man with the bomb vest to the bottom floor, where he cannot injure anyone upon detonation. The following cinematic sees Garrick and Price discussing the rules of engagement, and Kyle's anger about the British rules of engagement. This is where we get the now famous words, "I want to take off the gloves and fight," which Price replies, "Okay, you're with me." The cinematic then cuts to Alex's arrival in Urzikstan, where he is told to use Price's name to get in with the rebel forces in the area, led by Commander Farah Karim. After a brief discussion, Farah agrees to let Alex help them, and the rebels will help him. We also see a critical clip where Farah's brother, Hadir, walks in, and is shocked by Alex's presence. Visible confusion here. The next mission sees Alex teaming up with Farah to take out some Russian helicopters. One thing to note is the farther you go through the mission, the more you notice that the Russians are following the Cold War strategy of invading a country for the sake of security. This is really just an excuse for an eventual invasion of a nation. As you work through the streets, you attach an oil can to the end of your pistol to make a suppressor, which would not work well. Advancing through the level, you see tons of first-hand war crimes committed by Russian military forces forcibly occupying Urzikstan. Upon reaching the helicopters, you then place IEDs, improvised explosive devices, and proceed to detonate. You then attempt to escape, only to be pinched between two groups of vodka drinkers, Russian soldiers. You then escape back down the streets to a field with tons of executed civilians, and you play dead. After playing dead, some Russian soldiers pass by, and you kill the remainders, then proceed to exit the level. Following Modern Warfare cinematic sets up for attacking the Russian airbase in Urzikstan. Use RC planes armed with explosives to assault the Russian base. The mission starts with you in the figurative pilot seat of the RC plane, which you are designated to fly into helicopters on the Russian airbase. After jet ramming the helicopters, you amass at a wall across the river from the base. The base's exterior wall then gets hit by a round from a homemade mortar cannon the rebels call the Hell Cannon. This is a real weapon developed by Syrian insurgents. You begin the assault by throwing tons of soldiers at a hole in the wall, basically copying Russia in 1944, because who knew insurgents were better as a human meat shield than actual soldiers. After clearing the first area, you then come to a locked gate, which Shadir breaks down by ramming a truck into it. The insurgents and yourself rush into the next zone, the Russian army barracks, connected to the Russian-controlled airfield. After clearing the barracks and the airfield, you fight into the last hangar in the Russian armory area. After rearming, you are then pushed back into the hangar by a colossal amount of Russian forces, reinforced by different types of armor. This is when a friendly unmarked attack helicopter arrives, and your view is then shifted into the pilot seat, where you eliminate the Russian forces. The next cinematic for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 is a brief cinematic that starts with Farah, Hadir, and Alex agreeing more needs to be done. It then jump cuts to Kyle, Garrick, and Captain Price discussing an Al-Qatala-run house in London, England. The next mission was one of my personal favorites, and one of the public favorites, considering there are still articles, blog posts, and videos being made about it to this day. Just a quick note before I continue, if you enjoy the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. The mission starts with a quiet snap as you break the lock on the gate and then continue towards the main house. You expand a quick ladder to enter the building through the second floor window. As you get to the residence, you then clear the first room of the home, which contains 3 Al-Qatala members discussing the events of the attack on Piccadilly Circus, where you then sneak in and whack them all. You then start clearing the building room by room and floor by floor. As you enter the attic room, you find a woman walking backwards and looking over her shoulder at a table, so inherently you put a hole between her eyebrows. After doing so, you confirm a detonator was sitting on the table behind the woman, where she was looking the entire time. Following cinematic gives you the information on the location of the Wolf, the leader of the Al-Qatala forces. After learning the site of the Wolf, Alex, Farah, and Kareem head there to meet with Sergeant Griggs, a Marine team leader who's going to meet you and guide you on the mission. This is also where he informs you that the command for the mission is preventing any native forces from joining the assault. So you quickly and systematically clear the streets with Sergeant Griggs until finally getting ambushed by an RPG that takes out a friendly armored vehicle, and then a machine gun nest open fire. You then work your way to the buildings where the Wolf is staying, which is a hospital. This is an issue because you cannot hit a hospital, school, or church with any type of destructive ordnance. So you are forced to manually clear the building, and thank God you do because a group of Marines is taken hostage by the Wolf. When clearing the building, you encounter multiple terrorist ambushes until finally reaching the room where the Wolf is being holding. When clearing the building, you encounter multiple terrorist ambushes until finally reaching the room where the Wolf is holding the hostages, and it appears to be shooting some type of terrorist propaganda video. You then loop around into the area behind him before springing out and capturing the Wolf. Side note, the breaching tactic used by the Marines to clear the room is one of the most accurate tactics I've ever seen, with each of the 3 primary breachers taking left, right, and center angles. We then fade out to Captain Price and Sergeant Garrick coming in to pick up the Wolf for extraction via a helicopter exfil, only to have it shot down with an RPG. You are thrown from the helicopter to the embassy's roof, where you get up and realize you have no weapons with you and are forced to use your pistol. As you work down the building from the top floor, you see the Alcatala soldiers breaking into the embassy. This all comes to a tipping point when you see the other leader of Alcatala, the Butcher, on the other side of some bulletproof glass. He then executes a man and his son and proceeds to break through the glass as you move into the next room. Upon entering the room, you can see its office cubicle. It then has its wall broken in by a truck ramming its way through. You have to fight your way through Alcatala forces to the safe room where the wolf is being held. After entering, you realize the only way out is through the parking garage and to the ambassador's private residence. To do this, you have to get his keycard, and upon him trying to escape the first room, he gets shot. You then guide his secretary, Stacy, through the building and finally into the parking garage, where everyone regroups. This is the first time in the game we see all the main allied characters in the same place. You work through the streets to the ambassador's residence, where Marines are there waiting for you. You are then tasked with defending the ambassador's house from waves of Alcatala soldiers, who attack you via the massive open field behind the residence. After defeating the waves, you rearm and gain a laser target designator. You are then attacked from the construction site next door and the open field as before. But this time, you get to use a Predator armament to help you by designating targets for a missile strike, but then you have to run across the street to destroy an enemy mortar team. And upon returning to the stronghold you have created, you are then attacked by many Alcatala fighters in trucks, who make it all the way to the main house. And after you make it inside and take a close-shave shot, you learn the wolf has escaped. The Modern Warfare cinematic that follows divides the group. First, Captain Price and Sergeant Garrick will clear the town, house by house, and with the help of the Marines. Then, Alex, Farah, and Hadir will go to the mountain pass, the Highway of Death. This is an actual real-world location from the first Gulf War. Then, it was an area of highway where American soldiers laser designated a convoy of soldiers and American aircraft destroyed them. The Highway of Death mission sees Alex sniping waves of Alcatala soldiers, and then Russian soldiers in Russian armor. Alex does this all with an anomaly of a sniper rifle that Hadir made. However, it is not influential in the game's plot until the very last minutes of the mission. The last few minutes see you being overrun by Russian soldiers, and hear Hadir saying that he has more firepower in his truck. Upon reaching the vehicle, it's revealed that the man who stole the gas was Hadir. He then detonates the gas in the back of the truck to kill Russian soldiers and his own friendly combatants. Of course, this is a massive violation of the Geneva Convention, but in Modern Warfare 2019, the Geneva Convention is more of a guideline. We then fade to black and awake as a young Farah, buried in rubble, laying next to her dead mother. This is a mission set back in time as a younger Farah, recalling the first time that she witnessed gas being used. After being pulled out of the rubble and handed to your father, you try to run back to your house to get your brother Hadir so y'all can escape the oncoming onslaught. As you run through the town back to your home, you see the Russians using the gas on and also shooting into crowds of civilians. This is, in its entirety, a violation of the Geneva Convention, in like 10 different ways. After reaching the house, your father gives Hadir a gas mask, and not one for Farah because he only has the one. You then try to leave the house, but as soon as you open the door, a Russian soldier walks in and kills your dad. You then run around the house stabbing him in the legs with scissors and screwdrivers until Hadir comes to save you. You steal his gun and shoot him, and then you and Hadir leave the house after taking his gas mask. You then escape the village and Farah shoots 2 Russian soldiers. You and Hadir attempt to steal a truck but are caught by General Barkov himself, then tied up and thrown in the back of a car, sent to an unknown destination. This is also the first time we see General Barkov in-game. The cinematic following the mission Homecoming is Alex and Farah being extracted by Price and Kyle. Then it cuts to a briefing room where it's revealed that the CIA spook Laswell knows the location of Hadir, to which Price decides to make the team to hunt him down. The next mission, Into the Wolf's Den, sees the team hunting down Hadir and the wolf at their secure facility. You start by clearing an external building, then blowing a hole in the gate to get inside. You then sweep and clear the large residential building, only to have not found the wolf. This is where a woman, who Captain Price reunites with her son, tells them the wolf's location, under the nearby tea house. Alex and Farah find the hole in the tea house floor, leading to a tunnel system. Upon Alex and Farah entering the tunnel system, it's detonated. As you progress further into the tunnel system, You hear Hadir yelling, saying that they should not have come, Farah responding that she had wanted to. You clear the tunnels and quickly drop onto a wooden floor, and you break it and fall another 2 stories down to the bottom floor. From here, you are on your own as you work back up the burning building and cavern system to the top floor, where Farah saves you from falling back down into the cavern. You then rush down a tunnel leading you to the room where you find the bomb vest locked to the chest of the wolf. You and Farah disarm the vest, and whether or not you choose to kill him has no real effect on the story. The Call of Duty Modern Warfare cinematic following this mission shows the politics of war. Farah's rebel forces who have done nothing but help are moved from the Allied forces list to the hostile terrorist forces, and are no longer officially allies with the United States in any way. This is all because of Hadir's actions, and in response to this, everyone loses their shit. Alex goes AWOL and joins Farah's forces, and Price and Garrick are visibly mad about what has happened. In the next mission, you play as a young Farah Kareem, who is locked up in a cell across from her brother. General Barkov then comes in and interrogates you about a Commander Kareem to which you claim you know nothing about. And General Barkov moves your brother to a warehouse facility. You then escape, and upon escape, learn that its facility is actually under attack by SAS forces, and that they're going to burn down the warehouse where Hadir is being kept. You then work your way through the courtyard along with your sisters in arms, until you finally reach the courtyard where Captain Price saves you from an ambush by Russian soldiers, and helps you free your brother, Hadir. Old Comrades is the next Modern Warfare mission with something extraordinary happening. We see the return of the rebellious Russian Nikolai. In this mission, you are only allowed to use weapons native to the country you are in, which is Russia. You then work through the street to kill some Al-Qatala forces and quietly slip into a bar, where the Butcher is held up. Finally, you kill his guards and start a chase through the streets of St. Petersburg. Pursuit ends when chasing the Butcher through a street, where Nikolai surprises him and hits him with a van. It's a pretty big surprise. This leads you to defending the van from Al-Qatala forces as the van's engine has stalled. Upon escaping, we fade to black and return to a warehouse where Price, Yeager, and Garrick interrogate the wolf. You are then sent to get Truth Serum, which is really the Butcher's wife and son, and after bringing them into the room, you are given the option to stay or leave. You then use his family as leverage for your interrogations and get him to talk and reveal the location of Hadir. The following cutscene is of Price and Kyle in the patrol car, running a checkpoint and talking about the morality of war. Kyle begins to question the methods they use, which Price replies, "When you take off the gloves, your hands get dirty." This is a direct reference to the earlier cutscene where Kyle talks about wanting to take the gloves off and fight. You then fade out of the darkness into a forest near General Barkov's residence. You slip past some guards onto a nearby cliffside where you and Price devise a plan to sneak into General Barkov's home. After finding some of Barkov's officers, it's revealed not only are they his officers, they are also his sons. And they have sent Hadir into Barkov's office. Upon entering the office and finding Hadir and Barkov's gas facility plans, you are attacked by a Russian helicopter. You then fall through the floor and get to hear the infamous line from Captain Price, "Get up, soldier, we are leaving." You then run through the houses to a tunnel that you, Price, and Hadir used to escape. The following cutscene is one that shocked many people. In the cutscene, you are told by Laswell that she is giving Hadir to the Russians, and that even though he is Price's captured target, he's being given away. This is because Laswell calls it a proxy war. Proxy war is when 2 major countries support smaller groups in a civil war. A great example is the Vietnam War. The Americans supported the South Vietnamese, and the Chinese supported the North Vietnamese. We then jump to Price and Kyle showing up in Urzikstan and convincing Farah to attack Barkov's gas production facility. This will be very important in Modern Warfare 2 as we have no further information on what happens to Hadir after the current campaign. Also, before we continue today, I made a lot of jokes about the Geneva Convention today, but for those of you who don't know, subscribing to my channel is required by the Geneva Convention. Not subscribing to my channel is considered a war crime. Anyways, let's move on. The next and final mission in the game starts with a Predator missile strike as the team pushes across a bridge. Again, you begin as Alex, leading the forces up the mountain path to the main facility, calling in Predator strikes as you go. This goes until you finally reach the facility, where you split into 2 teams. The first team of Alex and Farah work their way into the facility and begin working up the levels to gain access to the laboratory facility. As you work your way through the facility, you are attacked by a man in a Juggernaut EOD suit. A loose bullet from his PKM hits your detonator for your explosives when he attacks you. You keep clearing the facility until you finally reach the laboratories, where Alex reveals to Farah that the detonator is damaged and will not work. However, he volunteers to stay behind and manually detonate the explosives. We then cut to Price and Kyle, who are being pinned down by sniper fire in a courtyard. You then play as Kyle and work your way through the yard, picking off Russians until you finally reach a stairwell. You climb the stairs and get to the roof where the gas pipes run into the facility, and you proceed to place explosives. We then cut to our last playable character of Farah Kareem in a helicopter hiding while General Markov rants on a radio. You sneak up on him and stab him. You stab him multiple times as he rants about terrorism and Urzikstan and all the problems that Russia faces. And finally, you kick his dead body out of the chopper. You then walk to the cockpit where it's revealed that Nikolai is the pilot, and he is taking you back to Urzikstan. And this ends the campaign. There are tons of more information that comes after the campaign in the Spec Ops mode and Warzone. After the credits roll, we are given a final cinematic in which Price, Nikolai, and Laswell, and a new face on an old character, Kamarov, to talk and discuss the invasion of Verdansk by Al-Qatala forces led by Al-Assad. This was actually our first look at the map of Verdansk because we see the set of downtown behind Al-Assad as he marches his army, and the hangar area of airports where Price and the other future leaders of the Armistice unit talk. This is all set up for Spec Ops mode, Warzone, and the season cinematics, which I'll be covering in the next video. When I make that video, I'll put a link right here in the video. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 has a deep and wide campaign in terms of content, and sets up a great story in Modern Warfare 2 coming out later this year. If you liked my video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, don't commit any war crimes and stay frosty.